When we talk about technique, there really is two main subcategories of technique. Now, technique is comprised of external technique and then also internal technique as well. Now, external technique describes all of the things that you can essentially mark someone on when performing an exercise from a visual assessment. You can look and see that their equipment is set up in the way that you would like, they're holding their body in the way that is somewhat considered correct, or at least more in the way of correct. Their positioning is good, everything like that, everything that you can visually assess and mark someone's performance or execution on an exercise, that's what we would call external technique. Now, on the other hand, we've got internal technique. Internal technique describes all the things that you can't assess from a visual perspective. That's things like, okay, the exercise looks good, their body is in the right place, their positioning is in the right place, their setup is correct in how you want it. Are they thinking about contracting the right muscles? Are they initiating force from the right place in their body? Are they maintaining tension correctly? And are they minimizing unnecessary assistance from muscle groups that we don't want to be targeting? So, the more popular term for this is mind-muscle connection, and again, this just describes someone's perception of where the tension is being applied, where the force is coming from in their body, specifically which muscles, and their ability to do that. That is the simple description of mind-muscle connection. Now, understand that mind-muscle connection, or internal technique, is a skill that you develop over time. So when we're talking to a beginner and we're explaining exercises, this is maybe not the first conversation we want to have. They have to have an understanding of their positioning and setup and general technique cues to the point where it's become somewhat second nature before we start to lean them towards thinking about the internal technique or the mind-muscle connection. Now, another caveat to this is I think that when people describe mind-muscle connection, people think they have good mind-muscle connection because they just feel an exercise in the right place. Now, even if you aren't initiating with the right muscle or maintaining exclusive tension on that muscle, you'll still largely feel it in that muscle. This doesn't mean you have good mind-muscle connection just because you felt it. Mind-muscle connection, or good internal technique, I should say in more sophisticated terms, good internal technique really is somebody's skill of knowing where they're initiating force from, where they're maintaining tension, as I said, and eliminating or minimizing unnecessary, unwanted assistance from other muscle groups. So when you're thinking about doing a bicep curl, we're not just thinking about swinging it up at all costs and then thinking back and think, okay, where do I feel that? We're actually standing still, and when we start a rep, when we initiate the rep, we think about initiating from our biceps, we drag up exclusively with our biceps, and then control down and maintain maximum tension on our biceps on the way down. So it's really thinking through what's initiating force, where you're maintaining and controlling tension throughout the full range, and I'm making sure that I'm not swinging with my hips or lifting with my shoulders or doing any of that nonsense. I'm thinking about minimizing unnecessary assistance from other muscle groups. This is difficult for a lot of reasons. Number one, you have to have a good understanding of fundamental external technique, first of all. Number two is when the set becomes difficult, it's very easy to cheat and lose sight of your internal technique, and any form of technique can break down in the face of challenge. So the skill really is in you learning how to train hard, not let your external technique break down, but also more importantly, don't start using muscles to compensate for tired muscles as your muscles start to get more and more exhausted throughout a set. Because again, where they're external or internal, that is cheating, and we want to minimize that. So that's a brief description of internal technique. Hope that makes sense. If you have any direct questions, let me know, and I'll chat to you in the next one.